Hey guys, in this video I will show you how to disassemble GK1 pistol. First of all, Happy New Year to all of you. This is the first video I am recording in 2024. I wish you all the best, and hopefully I will be able to fulfill my annually content this year and make as many videos as possible. I'm starting strong and hopefully I will be able to continue like that. Okay, so let's just get on with the video. As you can see, I have both of my GK1 pistols here. Now, it is worth to note that both of those are version 3. There is also a version 1 out there, possibly also version 2. I don't know any details about version 2, but I will mention those things that are different in version 1. Of course, I will not be able to show you, but it shouldn't really influence the disassembly because they are really similar. Just some minor details are different, as you may be able to already seen in one of my previous videos where I explained the differences. I have both of them simply because there are more than one way to degas the GK1 pistol. There are actually 3 ways, let's say, although 2 ways are actually to just degas and 1 is actually to remove the firing valve. And I will show you one method of degassing and one method of removing the firing valve, and I will mention the third method, which might be the most convenient, but I'm not that big of a fan, and I will say why in the video. You will need some tools for this. Mainly you will need Allen keys, set of Allen keys. The one that is less standard, of course all of them are metric, but the one that is less standard is the 7mm Allen key that you will need. And personally I don't have it in the kit, simply because most kits are actually in increments of 2mm from 6 on, so it's 6 and then 8. Everything up to 6 it's in increments of 1mm or even less, but from 6 it's unfortunately 2mm. That's why I have separated this 7mm Allen key here. And this is of course needed to remove or replace the muzzle on the pistol, which can be either flat one. I'm showing you again both of those. Flat one, or the one that is threaded for suppressor. I wish that Huben would include this Allen key in the set, especially if you get the kit for the suppressor thread with the pistol. Unfortunately they don't, so you have to get this one yourself. The different tool you will need is, in the case of using the method of degassing that is not my favorite, which is to unscrew or loosen this screw and degas it here. For that you will need Torx key 15. Okay, let's just get on with disassembly. So first, safety. And by that I mean make sure that the pistols are empty. And when I say empty, I mean nothing in the magazine. Be really thorough. Make sure just go through all the chambers. I will do this now for both pistols, even though I did it before. Make sure that they are really empty. Go a few more revolutions if needed, just to make sure. Okay, second, depending on the method, if you use the method to simply loosen this screw, then you basically don't need to do anything. You can just degas it at any start pressure. But if you use any of the following methods that I will use here, it is preferred to shoot down as far as possible in order to have the least amount of pressure. You can do this by dry firing. Don't dry fire it all at once. Huben mentions this in the note that you get in the box, that you shouldn't rapid fire constantly. So do it gradually. But for this purpose, I emptied this one to 100 bars. And this one I left actually a little bit higher. And this one is at 150, about 130 or 120, something like that. And that is because we will need to fire this pistol in order to get the firing valve out. And we will just start with this because on this one we will only remove this firing valve and then we will stop. We will not go on from there, okay? So the way that you do this, you first need to remove the screw from the side. You will need 2mm Allen key and you will need to unscrew fully this screw. Make sure you don't lose it. And there is also a spring that you shouldn't lose under it. So here is a spring. I'll put all of this in this box. And then you need to lift this up and remove this whole rear part. And let's do that. I think it's 4mm Allen key. Yep. We will only be removing the firing valve here, and on the other pistol we will fully disassemble it. So let's just remove this part completely, make sure that you don't lose any screws. Okay. Remove the back plate and remove the spring, and I intentionally put a little torque on it to remove the buffer as well, because we need to have everything out except for the valve and the rear round part that connects to the sear and connects to the trigger basically. Okay, so for that we will need a cloth or a towel or something like that. A towel is even better, something that is a little denser. Put on suppressor, although this is not necessary because it will not be loud from the front side. It will be probably louder from the back side in this case. And next step is really, really important if you do this. Make sure that you completely close down, so put the power wheel to minimum, because we want to have as low amount of air bursting out on the backside, because we will fire out this valve. Okay, so now what we do is put this up, follow the towel a couple of times so it's really dense, and then I will try to show this in the camera. So, and then put it over like this through the back side. And now release the safety. Okay, and now hold the towel on both sides here so it doesn't go back. Now it won't be violent, but still there is some force. So let's pop it now. Okay, that's fine. This was really quiet. And now the pistol is degassing through the rear side. You may notice that the valve itself, so this rear round part that connects to the sear, is out, but the valve did not fall out completely, simply because the sear that holds that round part is still holding it a bit, and there is also a lot of grease inside. So let's try to get it out. Okay, we got it. Okay, the pistol is now safe. It's still degassing really slowly because now the air is escaping only from the closing valve on the little channel that it has on that closing valve. We will show this later, by the way. So we have the firing valve out. Okay, this is extended, this is retracted. Okay, let's put this here and let's put this side, this pistol aside, because we will continue and show everything else on this one. So this one is emptied further down, so it's maximum that it goes. So this is about 100 bars. And we can start the disassembly. There is a very small amount of disassembly that is actually possible without even degassing the pistol. And we will do this first, just to show you what those what that is. So again, I will continue with 4mm Allen key. And on the bottom you have a screw, you completely unscrew it and you can remove the stock or the grip. Okay, now you have the assembly and you have the trigger assembly, and you have a connecting rod that connects the trigger to the back part. You need to remove this. I think it's Allen key 3mm or 2.5. I think it's 3mm. Yeah, 3mm. Remove this screw. We want to, we could also remove this screw, the front one, but we want to remove the full assembly of the trigger, and I prefer that this stays on the trigger and not on the pistol, on the body of the pistol. Okay, once we've done this, we take again the 4mm and we unscrew completely the screw that's in here. While we are doing this, this is where version 3 and version 1 differ. While we are removing this, we are actually also increasing power actually, because this is our closing valve and this is our power regulator. So power regulator actually, this is the screw in here is a power regulator, and this regulator actually pushes this down, so basically limits how far up in this state this rod can go. And of course, while we are removing this, we are now at full power, although this doesn't matter because we are now releasing the air, we are not firing out the firing valve. So if your goal is to disassemble as much as possible without releasing air, then we can also remove the front cap. Now, as mentioned before, there are two different front caps. This one is without a thread, so this one doesn't allow suppressor, and this one is actually, I think, made of steel, and the other one is, I'll just remove this threaded version, which is for suppressor. So this one, both of them are the same. In the inner hole of those is actually 7mm Allen key. And what you do is put Allen key inside and just loosen it. I will not loosen this one. I will loosen the other one. Now, one thing to note is that the barrel is about 5mm lower than this, meaning that if you push this too far in, you will actually hit the barrel. Now, the barrel is slightly recessed, so it's, I don't know what's the shape of the crown coat that is done here. So you cannot really hit directly the sharp edges of the crown, but still I would advise you to go in and slightly back out before you start loosening it, just to make sure that you don't damage the crown, because as you know, the crown is really an important part of the barrel and we don't want to damage it. So once this is done, you can simply unscrew it fully. Trying to do this on camera. Okay, done. This part is off. Aside. Also my Allen key stayed in the part, so let's put it back here. So once you've done this, you can just slide off the shroud. Okay, let's put the shroud aside. One thing to note is that the shroud is the orientation of the shroud is held in place by this pin and this cut. This is what holds the shroud in place. Okay, remember the pistol is still under pressure, but at the parts we removed till now are all safe to remove without degassing it. This is now over, so everything we do from now on, we need to have the gun empty, the pistol empty. So as I mentioned before, one way to do this is use Torx 15 and loosen this screw. Now, the reason I don't like to do this, because this screw doesn't have any seals, and it's a really special 45-degree conical screw with a 45-degree cap, and extremely highly precision centered, that it actually seals on the aluminium, so the body is made of aluminium, on aluminium directly. So the actual shape and the accuracy of the screw is such high tolerances that it actually seals to the aluminum. That's all fine and good, but that means if there is no seal that you really have to tighten it highly. And I actually cannot loosen this with this screwdriver. I have to use something like this. Best would be probably a T-shaped, because that would equalize the torque on both sides. But that is not the main reason that I don't like using it. One of the reasons is that you really have to tighten it highly in order for it to seal. A second reason is if anything comes in between that it's not perfectly clear, it will slowly leak out here. And the third and my main reason is because simply I put the pistols apart really a lot, because as you know, I do mods and clean the barrel this way a lot of times and things like that. When you are highly tightening such a small screw, I think it's 3.5 millimeters metric thread inside, you are slowly wearing out the threads on the body, on the action of the pistol. And of course, that is irreplaceable. Not irreplaceable, but in order to replace, you have to replace the full action. And I really don't want to damage this screw. So these threads for where the screws goes in, of course, screw is steel and the body is the problem, which is aluminum. I'm not saying this would happen, just it doesn't feel right to me, so I prefer not to do it. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you could use this screw and not reduce the pressure, so have it at any pressure without any issues. But the way I'm degassing, which is with this screw, so this is just under your trigger guard. Trigger guard goes over like that, so it's just under this part of the trigger guard. And this screw is also has quite an important purpose. This screw actually has inside a one-way valve for filling the gun, and it also have a seal on the outside, which of course we will take advantage of in order to bleed it, but it also have one other function, so it's very important how you reinsert it. And that is that it must not be tightened, because this is also a limiter on how fast you can charge or fill the pistol. And if you fully tighten it, you will not be able to fill it at all, because you will close down that port that goes towards the cylinder. So you have to tighten it, not tighten it, go to the end and then back off for about quarter revolution. Or other way of doing it also is just make sure it's flush with top side of this aluminum. That's it. That's it. And the more you will turn it out, the faster you will be able to fill the pistol, and the more you turn it in, the closer you are to the end, the slower you will be able to fill the pistol. So I like the fact that this is a limiter, because such small cylinder is this nice to have a limitation, because you are really putting a lot of heat inside if you charge your pistol too fast. So it's not wise to do that. So that I would suggest about quarter revolution. So the way to degas now is simply to start unscrewing it, and at a certain time the O-ring seal will just simply pop to one side and it will degas there. So it is a bit loud, not really extremely loud, but because it is throwing out that O-ring will at some point be damaged. But I rather replace an O-ring than be afraid to damage the body. You know, O-ring doesn't cost anything. And even I did this probably 10 times till now, and the O-ring is still the same. I haven't replaced it yet, so it's not like you will need to replace it really fast if you do this. But for that purpose, I do like that the pistol is at low pressure as possible before I do it. Okay, so sorry, this degassing actually explanation took really long, so let's do it slowly now. It will pop soon. Okay. If you watch carefully, you will see that it popped out in this side. So it doesn't really matter which side it popped out. So now I just leave it to drain slowly. It's almost empty. Now, by the way, you can feel that it's empty because you can actually rotate this part, but make sure you don't rotate it until it's really empty, because once you rotate it enough, this cylinder can go off, can be removed, and we will do this, of course. So if you do this under pressure, it will fly off. So let's do it now. So fully rotated to this side. So let's look at it like this, okay? So this is locked and this is unlocked, okay? And now you can just pull it out. Okay, sorry, let's do this again. I'm not sure if I was in the camera. So this is locked when it's aligned with this bottom part and the barrel and everything, okay? And to unlock it, simply rotate it fully this way, okay? And take it out. Okay, that's it. Okay, you can disassemble this, basically just unscrew it. It usually goes with hand. Yeah, in my case it goes, but it's a little tight, not really tightened, but the O-ring is holding it in place quite stiff. Oh, same thing here, you can also unscrew this one. It might be a little hard, so you can use some rubber or something like that to really get the grip if you need to remove this. Generally, you don't need to remove this unless you have problems with the O-rings on this. I will just remove one of them, so this side goes easier, or at least it's more room to grab. I accidentally removed this O-ring, by the way. These tend to get loose with a lot of pressure and depressurization. Sometimes you may need to put something in the filling port. I don't like to do that, simply because you might make some scratches and you might not have perfect seal when you're filling. Not the end of the world, but still I prefer not using anything, not putting anything in the... So as you can see, we're quite far on threaded already. Okay, we got it. So there is an O-ring here and nothing in here. And the other side is, so O-ring here. This might need to be replaced at some point if you have a leak. And same thing here if we remove this, but we will not do this because it's the same thing. So at this point, we can actually make sure that the O-ring isn't sticking out anymore and just thread this back fully in. So this is fully in, not tightening it, and 1/4 out. That's it. That's ready for refill, let's say. Okay, let's continue with removing parts from the pistol. We before saw how to remove the rear side, so we'll not do this again. And let's just continue with the removing of the barrel. You remove the barrel by removing those 2 screws. And there is one more in here, okay? So the one in here, you only need to loosen. And I believe this is 3.5 or 3 millimeter. It's 3 millimeter. Okay, just loosen this one. You cannot even remove it fully. It will not even allow you. So just loosen it. And these 2 we will remove completely. And this is 2.5. Sorry, 3 millimeter. Yeah, 3 millimeter. Allen key. So let's unscrew those two. Don't mistake and don't remove the bottom 2 screws. There are also 2 screws here in the bottom. Hopefully you can see those. Those are actually there to make alignment magazine to the barrel. So basically they're really important, and if not needed, don't remove them. The only reason to remove them is if you want to realign the barrel to the magazine. And that will not be covered in this video. Okay, so we have these 2 screws now. So as you could see, we remove the action from the barrel. Magazine stays here. We will just, these 2 screws, one of them wants to get out, and okay, the other one as well. Now we have here the magazine and the barrel and the assembly. You can check alignment of the barrel by looking through here, but the only way to really align is to have a pilot that goes inside and loosen this screw. As I mentioned, we will not go through this in this video. By the way, I did have this covered with a different version with K1 rifle, and if you feel that there is a need to have a video of how to align the magazine to the barrel, let me know, okay? So by now we can actually remove the magazine. You just go out, just pull it out, go all the sides equally. Okay, so we have the magazine here, and you can see the ball bearing that where the magazine rotates. And you can see here the indexing, so this top is spring-loaded indexing wheel that actually holds in place the magazine before you fire. And here there is a plastic, like a crescent moon shape insert that makes sure that the pellets or slug don't catch between the barrel and the barrel holder or housing. And make sure you don't lose that part, by the way, because if you do that like this, you see it just falls out. This is this part. And don't forget to reinsert it when you are reassembling. And now you can see the barrel here. And the way I prefer to clean the barrel is going through this side and out. I mean, you can also clean the gun when it's assembled. It's a little dangerous if you ask me, and from perspective that you're hitting the valve, because the valve is actually, the opening valve is actually right behind the pellet or the slug or the empty chamber in this case. So if you are cleaning without removing without disassembling, then just make sure that you stop before you enter the magazine, or just enter the magazine, but definitely no further, because even if you forget the danger side of this, you still have a possibility to damage this valve, because the top is actually brass. And if you do this also, of course, watch how you treat the crown in the front. Okay, so we have the magazine, the barrel apart as much as we will do it, because we don't want to realign the barrel. Now the version 3 also has this part without any screw. The version 1 has a screw here, which in our case is over here, as we mentioned before. And now we can start to disassemble the actual action. But here I would advise you to go into this only if you feel that you are capable enough of doing that. Okay, so let's first remove this side plastic. You will need, I believe, 2mm Allen key for that. Yep. So just 2 screws, one here and one here. Just remove those. Okay. Put this here and put the screws back in, so I know which one is which. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So we have here 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. Version 1 just have the lever down, but everything else is the same, so nothing different. So again, 2mm. These are actually 2.5mm, I think, or even 3. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure, but I think that in version 1 there are 3 screws here, and in version 1 there are 3 screws, but in version 3 there is only 2, I think, because over here we had only 2. Okay, again, put this aside. So by now you can see that the indexing spring is protruding out. You can remove it. You can also remove this part. This is the actual indexing pin. So you can see it here below. And this whole part goes out, slide it over here. This part has a really small flat spring here. And this one is actually as a spare part also in the bag that you have with the gun. So if this one snaps, you might need to replace it. And now we can also remove the gauge. This is really simple. Just push it slightly down, and you don't even have to push it down. Just push it towards the front of the pistol. Mine is a little stiff, so I do have to push it a bit down. So let me try it. Okay, So basically there is a bigger size edge here on it and bigger size holes, so the gauge is inserted in and then pushed back, and it holds it in place. And you can rotate it as much as you like, and it's held in place. This is also one of the O-rings, I believe, that you have a spare, and it happened to me before that this seal actually leaked. This is an extremely small seal, by the way. The next thing is to remove this brass part. So this brass part is because they need to make a hole in order to get the indexing pin in, because if we call this an indexing pin, we should probably call it an indexing lever. And this is an indexing pin inside, which actually pushes this whole mechanism left to right in order to index it. Okay, for that we will need a flat screwdriver, sorry. Flat screwdriver here. Okay. Okay, remove it out. There is an O-ring here. Really rarely that this one needs to be replaced. And now we can see the pin for indexing inside. This is a 2.5mm pin, so I would suggest that you use an Allen key of 2mm or smaller to push it out. I advise you to push it, so this is the front of the gun, back. I advise you to push it from this side over there, because in this case you will also probably remove the O-ring that holds everything in place. In my case, just the pin came out and the O-ring is still inside. And this is actually the O-ring that can be quite frequently the reason of failure. So right now over here in this hole there is an O-ring and it needs to be pushed in that direction. So I will try to gently get it out. This O-ring is quite heavily loaded, not loaded. There is a lot of stress on this O-ring, because in each firing, personally I can't get it out right now. Because each indexing, this pin travels left and right. Sorry, I can't get it out right now, but I would need something sharper to get it out. And I don't have anything here. By the way, you have also this spare O-ring in the set. Okay, got it. Okay, here it is. This one is, by the way, from a much harder material, because it needs to be able to abuse of the moving of the indexing pin. So now the only thing we have left to do is to remove this one and remove the closing valve out. I had to go and get the 17mm key to unscrew this whole part. This whole part is made out of brass on K1, but on this one I think it's aluminum. So just loosen it, and it goes slightly stiffer because of the spring inside, but afterwards you can do it with your hands. Okay, so we fully unthread it, and now we get the closing valve, and there is a washer here. It's actually slightly different than on my other K1s, and this is the pin and the spring inside. So basically this whole mechanism is a closing valve. This also has a slight channel here. Let me try to show it in the camera. It's really tiny, and this channel is to make sure that this valve actually leaks, because this valve must not fully seal. Actually it must close and slightly leak to refill the chamber between the opening and firing, so opening and closing valve. There's also one spring inside here. I will try to get it out. Okay. Oh, it's really in there. Okay, got it. So this is the full assembly of the closing valve. Okay, so that's about it. Since we haven't removed the firing valve in here, you might be able to see something shiny in here. That's the firing valve, which is actually in here. We fired it out on this pistol, so that is actually in there like this. So let me try this. So like this, and it moves forward and backwards. Okay, so that's as far as I would recommend anyone to go with the disassembly. I would not go any further. Even that, I would only go if it's actually necessary. I wouldn't do it just for the kinks, for example. If you have the need for deeper disassembly, for example, for alignment of the barrel, or if you have damaged trigger mechanism inside, that can be really complicated. Because, for example, for trigger mechanism, there are actually 2 pins here and here. You can actually see the holes, or actually 3, 1, 2, and 3 on the top, that hold in place the mechanism, and there are plastic caps over it, so you have to drill out the plastic caps and then shake the part, of course remove all the springs inside so there is no tension, including those 2 rear screws, in order to get the parts out. So it's really not easy, and I would not recommend just anyone to do that. Of course, if anyone has the skills to do that, I assume they will figure out how to do it themselves anyway. At least I did. But for example, for barrel alignment, if there is a need and a desire to have that video, let me know and I will do that as well. For the end, I maybe show you the couple of possibilities of the leaks. So far I haven't had a leak on any of the pistols, but I'm assuming that the possibilities are about the same as on the rifle, so I will draw my conclusions from there. One is, as I mentioned, the very small O-ring that is behind the pressure gauge. Of course, both O-rings on these sides are a possibility, or although I think I once had a case of that leaking. Even smaller possibility is the O-ring on this part. This I never replaced on any of my K1s. The bigger problems can be, and more often reasons for leaks, can be actually the indexing pin, so this is the 2.5 millimeter pin that is in here, and it pushes the whole assembly for the indexing lever. So this is this small pin. And this O-ring, which as we mentioned is of harder material. I'm not sure actually what are those O-rings that are white color now, what material. Previously I used NBR 90, definitely has to be 90 for this particular one, because it's on the constant stress from pin moving from one side to another. The most, let's say, unwanted and but really rare is to have it on the firing valve. So either on this side or on the back side. Back side is even actually worse, because on the back side there is an O-ring in this hole that seals around this steel part of the firing valve. That one is the worst if it's actually damaged. I think it's a spare one inside, but the biggest problem is getting it out and putting a new one in. It's really a pain, and also you really have to be careful, because any damage you do to this part, you basically destroy the action, the full action. And another one is the front one, where this brass part lace pushes up against. So this is basically the seal that seals towards the magazine. So this is where the valve opens and releases the air through, and that seal is actually specially designed from Huben, that is 2 parts, one ring from steel and one ring from different type of plastic or rubber, so it's slightly harder rubber or slightly softer plastic, whatever you call it, and it requires a special tool to get it in and out. I had a lot of time questions regarding that, but the thing is that this dimension of and this material of seals are changing, so no tool is equal. It is possible to get it out and in without tools, but again, you really need to pay attention how you do it, because if you damage the body, you've destroyed the body. You need basically almost a whole new pistol. I think those are the most critical parts. So if the front side of the firing valve is leaking, then you get a hissing sound or air moving from the barrel through the barrel, so through the magazine. If it's the rear side of the firing valve, then the leak is towards through the trigger mechanism down here below, in this part. If you have a hissing sound here, so clearly not from the barrel but from the side of the magazine, then it's most likely the indexing pin, which I shown before. And over here are obvious. Of course, you also have potential, especially if you use this screw for degassing, that the leak is here. I recommend testing wherever it's possible with, let's say, syringe and a drop of water. You can also use spit, homemade device for testing leaks. Yeah, by the way, if you have problems with this one and you cannot tighten it enough to have it sealed, don't over tighten it, don't go too far. Instead, rather use some sealing agent, some sort of, there are sealing agents on thread locks, but don't use the red one because you don't want to permanently lock it. And I think that's about it. I'm sorry this video is long. I tried to give you as much details, maybe a little too much explanation along the side. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this was helpful for you. See you in the next video. Make sure to subscribe. Bye.